Hello and good afternoon, District of Columbia. Hope everyone is having a great spring and hopefully we're all able to use your Uber Eats and enjoy lunch while watching this. And if you didn't get to use the code, it should still be good to use until Friday afternoon. And let me know in the Q&A box what you ordered for lunch or if you have any upcoming Memorial Day weekend plans. My plans are to go to the movies and maybe have a barbecue on Monday and let's see. Yep. Seeing some people. They're going to go to the park, have a picnic. They're going to go to the lake. That's awesome. Like, I enjoy water sports and rafting, mainly floating in the river, though. That's kind of what I'd like to do since summer's only a few weeks away. Someone ordered Subway, Chipotle, Kava. Hmm. Someone ordered a Cobb salad. And for my work, we're currently in California, so we won't be having lunch for another 3 hours. We have something called the good salad, pretty much like a sweet green. All right, and I do see a couple more people joining. And before we get started, just wanted to go over some housekeeping. At the end of this presentation, I'll be sending an email to provide HRCI and Shroom credits. And if you have any questions today, I'll do my best to check that Q&A box and get back to you as soon as possible, as these questions will be saved. I may not be able to address them as soon as possible, but I can also send them in that follow-up email. And if you want any further information, feel free to respond to that follow-up email. And you can also subscribe to our YouTube channel and newsletter, and I'll have those links at the end. We're also going to send a recording of this presentation you can share with colleagues. And today we're going to talk about DC nonprofits and unemployment. Before I get started, just wanted to do a quick intro of myself. My name is Janessa Ponko. I'm the Senior Member Development Representative here at 501c Services. I've been in business development for over 10 years now, and I've been with 501 since July 2023. And there's a group of people that are bowling. It includes me and some of our sales and marketing team members. Heidi is my manager in the middle. You might work with her in the future. And then we have Evan on the right that helps with our marketing and web development. I'm really excited to be part of a team that's been helping nonprofits save time and money that can go towards furthering their mission. We're located in San Jose, California, so we're in the heart of the Silicon Valley and dedicated to helping nonprofits reduce unemployment expenses across the nation. And thank you again for joining to learn more about cost-effective strategies and managing unemployment in your state. We're going to provide a broad overview on how unemployment insurance works, alternatives for 501c3 nonprofits when it comes to unemployment, how reimbursing works, and we're going to use some real-life examples of nonprofits we've helped with our cost analysis, and finally provide more information on 501c services and how many of our DC nonprofits have benefited from our services. First of all, I wanted to start off with a little history to put unemployment in perspective. Unemployment started in the US in the 1930s following the Great Depression and New Deal, where the federal government wanted to create a safety net for workers who lost their jobs through no fault of their own. In between 1930 to 1972, 501c3 organizations didn't pay into unemployment benefits for separated employees. Although this saved them money from paying such taxes, employees that got laid off couldn't reap the benefits of that safety net that for-profit companies had provided. Now, fast forward to 1972, the federal government changed the law under the Social Security Act where nonprofits must pay into unemployment, but they were given different options in how they pay so that tax wouldn't be seen as an unnecessary expense for them. Unemployment is overseen on the federal level. However, each state gets to manage their own programs however they choose. So throughout the US, you'll see different taxable wage bases, tax rates, benefit amounts, but today we're just going to cover information in DC. When it comes to management, unemployment rates can be adjusted annually and are adjusted by experience. So let's say if you have a year or two of bad claims, your tax rate will increase. And most states, including DC, run as a risk pool. So when you pay SUI, you're paying a tax to access a pool of funds to cover your claims. And our team is seeing a lot of nonprofits put more money into that pool than what they're getting back. And these total tax liabilities by employers are often greater than the claims paid with reserves used in times of recession. And in order to calculate your tax liability, multiply your taxable wage base by your employer tax rate. So we'll do a little quiz. Take a guess on what a single claim can cost in DC, and feel free to put some guesses in the Q&A box. So we have 7,000, I'm seeing 64.75, 81.35, 10,000, 12,000. So just as a hint, the total cost is looking at the weekly benefit maximum multiplied by the maximum number of weeks someone can claim. And just as a little hint, that is 26 weeks currently for DC. And I'm seeing 1,300, 14,000. So I think there's one more guess. 22275. So about almost 23,000. 21,000. 19,800. I think there's one more guess. 16,600. All right, so the maximum amount of what a single person can claim in unemployment in DC can cost $11,544. And just as a caveat, this is what an employer is charged for employee benefits by the state. Those extended benefits that you saw during the recession and extra COVID payments, they were covered by the federal government. So the maximum weekly benefit amount in DC is $444. When we multiply that number by 26 is how we get that $11,544 for the maximum of what a single person can claim on unemployment. The federal government sets the wage base at a minimum of $7,000 and there's no maximum, so it can increase or decrease by any year. And with DC, the taxable wage base is currently set at $9,000, which means for the first $9,000 an employee earns, your organization gets taxed on that. So most employers in DC pay their taxes in the first quarter, but you might see that taxes paid after the first quarter might be for like seasonal employees, new hires, or employees making less than that $9,000. And then the minimum tax rate for this year is 1.9%, maximum tax rate is 7.4%, and those are both set by the state. The last thing is the improper payment rate from the previous slide, which is at 22.55%, and this overpayment equates to around over $60 million to former employees who are collecting unemployment from the past 3 years. We get this information from the Department of Labor. You can see DC is one of the many states that's greater than 13%. And this is really important to know as we encourage you to look over your claims and make sure that you're not overpaying for anybody's claims. Here at 501, we help organizations monitor this. And if you are managing on your own, you want to make sure that you're properly charged for a former employee's weekly benefit amount. There are 3 different alternatives for unemployment. One is that you pay that state tax we talked about earlier with the tax rate set by the state and taxable wages. Another option is that you can self-insure or reimburse for your unemployment. We're just paying dollar per dollar for your unemployment claims. So basically, you're only paying for the benefits issued. And then the last option is kind of a hybrid of both, where you buy insurance that offers the savings of reimbursing while also providing that safety net. And just let you know, reimbursing is not for everyone. The qualifications we look at for considering reimbursing is that an organization must be a 501c3 nonprofit. We recommend a gross annual payroll of $1 million or more because typically if your payroll is under $1 million, especially significantly less than that number, what you're paying into the state tax pool is probably pretty minimal. and you might not see much significant savings by opting out. However, there are some cases where you could see potential savings, so we're happy to look at your numbers even if you're just slightly less than a million. We also look at a positive audit from the past 3 years. So that means in order for reimbursing to benefit you, we try to evaluate if what you pay each year in taxes exceeds what you're paying in actual claims. And then we want to make sure that there isn't any major disruption in funding for the next 24 months. So we do recommend to stay with the state tax system. If you might have anything from impending layoffs, reduction in workforce, losing funds, or closing programs where tax rates may go up with experience, and then you'll probably want to wait once those claims decrease. What it means to reimburse is that your tax rate turns to 0%, and the state will bill you only for unemployment claims you receive over the quarter. It's a great way for nonprofits to save money and be a better steward of donor dollars. The process is seamless for separate employees, no matter how your employee separated, they're still going to go through the same process of your unemployment department, where the state will determine your benefit amount based on the base period pay. The only change is how that quarterly bill is calculated. So instead of paying the state unemployment insurance tax, you're now only responsible for charges your organization incurs. We work with over 1,500 nonprofits across the nation, and several are in DC. So you're probably wondering what motivates them to reimburse. In most cases, reimbursing saves money. On average, savings can be anywhere from 20 to 40% compared to paying into the state tax system. And this is really the driver for most organizations to switch. Reimbursing also eliminates any concern of changes in that state tax, such as tax hikes that you can't control. You become a better steward of donor dollars as you're just paying for your actual claims and putting money into that state pool. Because unemployment is managed by the federal government, big picture, reimbursing is allowed in all 50 states, including DC, best with employers with over $1 million in payroll and at least 15 or more full-time employees. If you're on the borderline, we can certainly talk, as sometimes there are circumstances where we can consider reimbursing for your organization. And if you're smaller and reimbursing already, we can still consider you for our services and how we can help you reduce your risk. There are a couple different strategies for reimbursing. The first is to manage your own program. And this can be risky with the highs and lows of unemployment. You really need to make sure that you have budget for these claims and that your team is diligent with managing, auditing, protesting, and paying claims to reduce this kind of risk and to prevent overpaying. Another option is to outsource, like using 501c services to help with the administrative work and managing the challenges that can come with unemployment claims. And then we also have our trust where you can put money aside. And then the third option is to purchase insurance. At 501, we do offer insurance programs. They are a little bit more expensive than the trust and offer different levels of protection. And I do want to talk about how SUI is calculated. Like I mentioned earlier, I'll show some real cost assessments that we've done in the past. The taxable wage base is customized by each state. So with DC, it's currently set at $9,000. All employers in the state pay the same taxable wage base. It represents the first $9,000 of an employee's earnings. There's no maximum and can increase or decrease by any amount each year, as I mentioned before. The tax rate is set annually by the state and is based on experience. To calculate the contribution amount, you multiply the taxable wage base by the tax rate. So for DC, it's that $9,000 times the range of 1.9 to 7.4%. This amount means that if each employee makes over $9,000, the company is paying in between $171 to $666 per employee in unemployment. And what we do to get started on an assessment is that we look at your tax rate notice that gives us some information needed for the analysis. It includes, or it gives us a snapshot of what you paid in unemployment compared to claim, or what you paid in unemployment compared to claims for 1 year. And ideally, we like to look at your last 3 years of tax rate notices to get a more accurate cost analysis. So let's see. So this is the contribution rate notice is what your tax rate notice is called. And also, there's no need to understand every item on this document. We're happy to look over those numbers with you and see if there's any potential savings within your organization. And our next two slides will include organizations with significant overpayments. They eventually transitioned to reimbursing and became members of our trust. And here for our first example with the human services nonprofit, the taxable payroll is just shy of $1 million, tax rate 4.7%, estimated claims around $200 per year. And in this case, we look at a 3-year average of claims. So they were overpaying $45,000 a year. And think of what you can do for an additional or with an additional $45,000 for your organization. This next example, the taxable payroll was around $700,000, tax rate 3.38%, estimated annual claims $5,900, estimated unemployment taxes were around $24,000, so they were overpaying $18,000. And a little bit more about 501c services. We were founded in 1982 by a former UCP executive. He was looking for ways to save money for his organization, so he came up with the idea of starting a trust. He teamed up with 25 nonprofit executives in San Jose, California, to create the first kind of grantor trust, the Joint Unemployment Compensation Trust. It eventually became what is now known as 501c Services, and then our trust is called 501c Agencies Trust. We currently help over 3,000 nonprofits in various ways across the nation. And in 2016, the founder sold the company back to his employees. So we're now 100% employee owned. From our receptionist to the CEO, every member is committed to our company and serving our members. And our services are valued tremendously, with our company having over a 98% retention rate. And these are a couple of testimonials our members have shared, and you can go back to these later, as I'll also attach the slides after the presentation. And this is a clip from our 40th anniversary celebration a few years ago. It includes testimonials from Anika Lunn and Mike Hoffman from Start Early, Mary Sue and Michael Eady from CISC, Sandy Leota and Chris Marshall of Baltimore Center Stage, and Phyllis Austin and Jason Penniger from Boys and Girls Club of America.
What makes me passionate about working for a non-for-profit organization is because I knew I always wanted to work for a mission-driven organization.
Our mission is to work with immigrant communities so that they can achieve the American dream.
501 helps focus our service to the community by giving us more time.
501 helps us focus on serving our communities by providing services directly to our HR professionals.
The biggest benefit for working with 501 is really the transparency and ability to forecast our costs when it comes to our unemployment benefits.
They also keep our cash flow steady through claims that are sound and take a lot of the admin burden off of us so we can just stay on autopilot.
We're very grateful for all the support you provided over the last 4 decades, and we wish you continued success in the future.
Congratulations, 501, on your 40th anniversary. It's been a pleasure serving with you for the last 24 years.
And like I said earlier, we work with several DC nonprofits, and this is a quick snapshot of a few nonprofits here in the state and across the nation that are members. And just as you heard in the clip, we help nonprofits save time and money by relieving the administrative burdens that can come with unemployment. The first way we help nonprofits is through claims management. Our team will help you manage, audit, and protest claims. And if you ever have to protest a claim, we offer unlimited access to hearing reps. And our team has an average 80% protest win rate. And you'll get a dedicated claims manager once you become a member of the trust. All your claims will go through this online portal where you'll get notified that a claim has been filed. So you'll go into the portal to respond to the questions. If you ever go on PTO and forget to delegate these kinds of tasks, it shouldn't be a problem for when a claim doesn't get responded to in several days, it gets escalated and handled. A big part of our claims management is that our team doesn't want to see your organization overpay or get hit by those DC error rates. We can audit those charges for you or prevent you from paying a claim when someone gets terminated. And we want to make sure that you're managing these claims and also have enough support to do so. Our HR services include 3 components. We offer access to unlimited HR consultations. They are a small dedicated team that will answer any of your HR related questions. So if you ever have an ongoing issue, you can develop rapport with the person who will support you and manage any of your HR questions. And our HR services have trainings throughout the year that are HRCI and SHROOM certified. And there's also an online knowledge library with our HR services. And with the $444 maximum weekly benefits here in DC, our goal is to help you keep that cost as low as possible. If you ever lay someone off, we have our reemployment tool that offers packages that can range from online coaching, interview techniques, and resume writing. Our studies have shown that former employees who use this tool on average find a job 4 weeks faster compared to those that don't use the tool. It's never fun to let someone go, but at least you can give them the safety net and resources to help them secure a new job faster, which in return can help your organization save more money. And then our protection is the insurance part of our program. Most of our members take our stop loss protection that helps them during catastrophic claims. And other than catastrophic claims, for managing the general highs and lows of unemployment, we have the trust account. And this is a reserve account owned by your organization that will help you save and pay for potential claims. So I hope this sparked your interest, and maybe some of you might want to manage your unemployment through us as a reimbursing employer. And if you want to look into potential savings, what I would need from you is your 941s or estimated payroll from 2024 to 2025 as a reimburser. And if you're paying into the state tax system, I would also need a copy of your 2026 tax rate notice. And it would also be helpful if you have your 2025 and 2024 tax rate notices, so we can look at additional data points for you. And I did see a couple of questions pop up, so I will go over those. The first one, is there a fee for your services? Yes, we have our trust administrative fees. The pricing is determined by the size of your payroll, and we'll include our service fees in the cost assessment. The other question is, membership required for you to conduct an assessment with us? No, you do not need to be a member for us to offer a free cost analysis. So I can send you the assessment form in our follow-up email, and it'll provide information on what you need to send for the analysis. Other question is, the gross annual payroll for each run or per month. So for the gross annual payroll, we look to see if an organization should consider reimbursing. It's yearly. And then we recommend a gross annual payroll of $1 million or more for the greater chance of potential savings with reimbursing. And then if you'd like to look into potential savings, you can send over your information for the analysis, and then we'll be able to provide results in a few days. And if you are on a reimbursement basis, is this subject to the annual claim limitations as well? Yes. So you're still subject to the claim limits of 26 weeks and the maximum weekly benefit amount of $444. And it's the same for those either paying to the state tax system or when you become a reimburser. And I have one more question here. We use a PEO and they pay our unemployment tax on our behalf. Our payroll is about 1.6 million. Do PEOs usually offer an option to move to reimburse if the math made sense? If so, is it something worth exploring with the PEO? So typically we cannot work with POs, but our team has learned on rare occasions that a PO could let you manage your unemployment, but you do have to ask your PO if it is possible. And if anything changes and you're not working with the PO anymore, please feel free to contact us. So currently we cannot work with if you are with a PO, but we can always talk if you decide to leave the PO. All right, so I currently don't see any other questions. If you are typing a question, I will stay on for another minute or so, but you can also save it for the follow-up email I'll be sending with the Shroom and HRCI credits, and I'll attach a copy of the slides. And you will get a recording of this presentation in a couple of hours. And if you'd like more information, this is our YouTube channel and also our newsletter sign up if you want to click the link and get some updates. All right, perfect. Thank you so much, everyone, and hope everyone has a great day.